What's up, everybody? How are you doing today? I am Delta Tango Mike here, hanging out with an amazing artist. OMG. It's amazing to hang out with Goldie. How are you doing today, Goldie?
Hi, Dan. I am doing so well. I'm so excited to be here with you on Adobe Live. This is actually our second Adobe Live together
Yes.
ever, which is very
Yes.
cool, which is pretty wild because I don't know who else I've done more than one Adobe Live with.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
so I'm super special. Nice.
You're super special. For anyone who doesn't know, Dan is such a cool artist and creative as well. Based in Atlanta, Georgia. So last time I
That's
was
right.
in Atlanta, we went and hung out and got breakfast together.
Yes. Yes. Delicious breakfast. The next time you come to town, we'll do it again.
Yes.
Big ups. I'm gonna jump in and say big ups to everybody in the chat. I got Keys, Wade, Jack, D78s, and everyone joining us in the chat on Discord, on Behance, and on the YouTube. Welcome everyone to another Adobe Spotlight with Goldie Chan, writer, strategist, and creatives. And I know Goldie, but go ahead, please, Goldie, introduce yourself and give us a little background about your story. And can you share whatever you're willing to share about it?
Okay, great. So, hi, I'm Goldie, and as Dan just said, I'm a writer, creative, and strategist. So, on the writer side of things, that's a little easier to start with. Currently, I'm a senior contributor at Forbes. I write
Mm.
about personal branding and storytelling in the digital age. I also write for fun. I write for Archie Comics, which is pretty cool. And I have to drop this in. Dan also is working on a comic, so I have to give him a shout out on that. And also, I am working on my first book, Personal Branding for Introverts. So it's pretty interesting to write something very, very long form. On the other side of things, and why I'm here with you today with Adobe, I live in Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Express. I love both of
Mhm.
those programs. Those are kind of my sweet spot in terms of Adobe programs. I am often tasked with creating a lot of decks, a lot of pitches and a lot of things like that. And sometimes what people do, and I'm going to walk you through that today, is people give me selfies or shots that are maybe a little more imperfect. Not exactly what we need to make us look really professional. So I'm going to show you super simple way in Photoshop you can make it look a little more professional, and then actually also taking those images and making some social assets from that as well. But to get back to my story, because I got a little sidetracked, so I also create a lot of content myself. I make a lot of videos. I make a lot of social assets. Um, and in general, I like to create and I like to make things. And so I'm so excited to be here today on Adobe Live, sharing with you part of my creative process.
Yes, yes, and that's super cool. Is everything I mentioned is super cool. The comics part grabs me because I love comics, and that's how
Yes.
I growing up as a kid. Comics is one of those things that you pick up along the way, and it also inspires you to draw. And to me, comics was the thing that got me drawing. It's like I want to draw like they do in the comics and draw characters. And so to meet other artists or professionals who are working in the comics industry or creating comics in any from a writer to artist to whatever. It's awesome because like yes, if Goldie can do it, then that means I can do it, and other artists can be inspired by the same story and do it too.
Yeah, and I think that what's so neat is there's so much space in specifically comic industry for different kinds of creatives. So I myself write. I'm less of a drawer, illustrator, or whatever title you want to give that
Uh-huh.
role. Storyboard artist, I think is maybe the best title for that.
Hmm.
But I write a lot of the stories, but I work really closely with the artist to make sure that when I write the story and then the artist comes in and illustrates it, that we
Uh-huh.
have the same idea and the same ultimate
Hmm.
vision. And so,
Hmm.
and for me, I'm writing from characters that I literally read when I was a kid, like just
Hmm.
teeny tiny little Goldie. So that's even more, to me, that's even more fun. But I know, Dan, you're working on original characters, which is very, very, very cool.
Uh-huh. Yes, thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So let's jump in into a
Yes.
couple questions before we get started into the exercises with Photoshop and Express.
Yep.
So as a your journey as a global speaker, strategist, and writer. Can you share how you first embarked on this path? Like, what were some of the first steps that you took and into this arena?
Yes. So first of all, we're right now we're in Photoshop,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to say, this we're gonna stare at this for a little bit while I answer this question first, and then I'm gonna jump right into it and explain what I'm doing. So first of all, when I got started, especially with doing strategy work, I was very behind the scenes. I worked at a 9 to 5, as maybe some of you who are watching this stream do, before I decided to break off and do my own agency and work independently as a freelance creative. And I
Mm-hmm.
know that transition can be very, very scary. But so many more people, I think, especially this year, are thinking about that transition. And I just want to say that one of the most helpful things, at least for me, is having an amazing community, right, of
Mm-hmm.
fellow creatives. And I think Dan can also speak to this, that are either local or online, that you can rely on. So when you
Mm-hmm.
have questions, you have somebody to ask and talk to.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Local and online is important. And that's why we're here on Behance, right? If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you leave a like and subscribe, but come on in onto Behance because this is where the community is at. And all day long, it's about art, design, illustration, and artists of all levels, animation and graphics. And
yeah.
I'm thinking of video production, all that stuff. It's amazing the kind of community that we have here on Behance. So that's how you got started by making sure you hang out with folks who like what you
The
like.
cool folks. So speaking of getting started, so one of the ways that I often get clients or often get jobs is through my friends. So what we're
Hmm.
looking at right now is a picture of my friend Grace. This
Okay.
is Grace, and I have to shout out this button that I'm wearing. So this is for a company called Neighbor. They're actually a Fortnite studio, so they make cool mini games on
Mm.
Fortnite. And I'm helping them out with their branding. Now,
Yes.
my amazing friend Grace also works on the team with me, and we needed to make this document. And I said, Grace, just send me any picture you have. Now, Grace sent me this. Unfortunately, for
Hmm.
the document that I was working on, I needed a square picture.
Ah.
But instead of, and I'm just going to show you, instead of cropping it like, and I'm just going to just draw that circle so you can maybe see it a little bit. So
Uh-huh.
this is maybe not the most flattering crop if you crop in just really close to the face.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, I want to use generative expand to make this a more flattering picture, because we all
Mm.
like flattering pictures. We all like
Yes.
better
Mm-hmm.
looking pictures.
Mm-hmm.
It's so easy to do in Photoshop. What you do is I'm going to hold down the C button, which is crop,
Mm.
and then I'm just going to literally, we're just going to drag this, and I'm dragging it currently on the grid. So as you can see,
All
there's
right.
a little bit of a grid. Woo! And
Yes.
I'm actually going to just do it a little bit like this. So it's almost a square, not quite. I just want a little bit of extra space. And
Mm-hmm.
from here, we can do one of two actions. We can either go into edit, generative expand, and go through our amazing drop down menus, or we can go right to the toolbar and we're going to
Mm.
click fill generative expand. I want to show you there's a couple other things we do. Transparent default. No,
Uh-huh.
we're going to do generative expand. So
Wow.
now it just gave me the little box that said, do this. We always want to listen to what the little box in Adobe Photoshop, right?
Look at that.
Look at that. Okay, and I
Uh-huh.
just want to show you what that looked like
Before.
before
Mm-hmm.
and what that looked like after. So
Mm-hmm.
as you can see, there's maybe a building or two behind her, and then there's also a pole. It filled it
Uh-huh.
in with literally there's a plant now.
Uh-huh.
There's other stuff. There's like another thing floating around here. There's another building.
Yep.
And I also wanted to pull up that if you are in Photoshop, you can look up other variations. And I'm going to click
Mm-hmm.
on this because that's going to expand it.
Yep.
So here's another
Oh.
variation where she's sitting in a
Mm-hmm.
chair. And then
Mm-hmm.
here's another variation that's a little bit more clean. So once again, I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
say this one is her with her plants. Looks a little bit more like she's in a natural environment. And then
Mm-hmm.
this one, which is a little bit more plain, and I kind of like this. It almost looks like maybe she has her, and I'm guilty of sitting like this. honestly doing these live streams. You know, you have your knee up here and you're resting on your knee. So this is a very cool way to do it. Now, I also want to
Mm-hmm.
show you how to do this when you are going through the drop down menus. So we're just
Okay.
going to do, I'm going to do a shift, our friendly shift button. Okay. We're
There
going to
you
do
go.
this and we're going to manually select it. We're going to manually, who else here? I'm wondering who else is like me, where I go pixel by pixel. Sometimes it's the least efficient way of editing a picture.
Mhm.
But especially if I'm trying to edit somebody's Photoshop, I will go pixel by pixel and go through and edit. That's just me though. Okay,
There you go.
so as we go through edit, we're going to go through generative fill. I'm going to click
Mm-hmm.
this, and this time it's
Mm.
going to ask me for a prompt. So I'm going to type in fill in with black shirt and background. So,
There you
and
go.
actually, let's make the word background more interesting,
Mm-hmm.
and hotel background, because I'm curious what it will think a hotel is. And we're going to generate this, and we're going to see. We're just going to see, right, Dan? We're going to see
Let's see. Yeah.
what ends up happening.
Let's see
Uh,
what happens.
this is all live, so we're
Mhm.
going to see together what hotel background looks like together. And
It
and
said,
sometimes with this, it gets a little confused. I think definitely this one, it got a little confused.
mm-hmm.
So
Uh-oh.
I'm so
There you
amused
go.
by this stock photography background.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
But this one, which I now
Mm.
see I missed some pixels, so that's on me.
Uh-huh.
This one
Uh-huh.
looks great. Like this one looks like a
Yeah.
hotel background.
Yep.
Sometimes you just
Yep.
need to fuss with it a little bit. But I'm going to
Sure.
go back and I'm going to go ahead and pick probably this image. And what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and take this and bring this into Adobe Express.
All
Okay.
right.
So, and we're gonna kind of talk through, I guess we talked through a little bit more of my life stuff, but we're
Mm-hmm.
going to save as, because we always want to save as, and we want this to not be layers. So we're going to save a copy. Sorry, you have
Mm-hmm.
to everybody has to manually see this.
Yes.
And we're going to unclick the layers.
There
And
you
I
go.
have to say, I always want to do PNGs. So I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to save this as live
There you
with
go.
many
Live.
E's. And we're gonna save it, and I'm just gonna do medium saving. Okay, so we're
Okay.
gonna medium save it. We're saving it. Everything is going so like lightning. Everyone who saves off Photoshop knows sometimes it
Mm-hmm.
takes a little bit. So we're saving it. It's being saved. I'm doing this motion because I can't actually snap my
Yes.
fingers, but I have the motion of snapping my fingers. Can you snap your fingers, Dan?
Working, working,
Yeah.
working. Uh-huh.
Working,
There you
working,
go.
working. Okay. So now it's done. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to switch over to our Adobe Express.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I want to go ahead and show you how to really easily find templates for things that you're doing. So say you have this amazing photo now,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to promote this person. Well, I'm literally looking at Instagram Square templates and I see
Mm.
we
There you go.
quite literally have a
Yeah.
template that I can drag and drop it into right now. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go ahead and open this and I'm going to pick out my picture I just edited called Live. And I'm going to drop this in
Uh-huh.
and there's a couple ways I could do this. I could actually do a template or I could do this
Uh-huh.
and I can just drop it in and just kind of throw it over.
Mm-hmm.
This almost reminds me of cooking. If anybody has ever cooked a meal before and it comes out really bland and then you got to add a lot of spices over it, that's a little bit, I think, of what this is. Actually, I will show you one of my favorite features in Adobe Express,
Mm-hmm.
besides making a QR code, is remove background.
Yes.
So
Yes.
so I have to remind you, this is a picture that originally looked like, it
Mm-hmm.
looked like this. I'm just going to
Right.
show you really quickly. It looked like
Mm-hmm.
this when we started, but
Right.
now it looks like this. It looks amazing.
Yes.
My friend
Yes.
Grace looks amazing. It's full size. I'm going to go ahead and delete that other person's picture. We don't need that person in
Yes.
this picture. I'm sure they're a very nice person. Uh, and what we're going to do is, so there's a few options. We can also literally do this. We can do a
Yes.
shape, which is very
Hmm.
cool. So that immediately will crop it for us, or
Yes.
we can crop that and then we can also do this on top. So we're going to click remove background. We're going to see how fast my internet goes. My internet is
Oh,
lightning fast
yes.
today. Dad, my
Yes.
internet is lightning fast.
Uh-huh.
And it cropped
Uh-huh.
it so fast. And now I have this very cool curvy bottom picture
Mm-hmm.
of my friend that I can use for this social graphic. And in fact, let's go ahead and make a social graphic from this. And we're going to pretend that we're announcing a new team member.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, her name is not Mark, so we are not going to call her Mark, but we're going to move
Oh,
this over here. And you know
yes.
what's funny about this is it actually already looks really good, I want to say. Um, I think the colors look pretty good. So we're
Mm-hmm.
going to go ahead and we're going to expand this out. And
Mm-hmm.
then I'm going to go into this Mark file and we can either take apart the layers, we can ungroup the layers. I'm just going to see what happens if I type in Grace. And
Race.
that already looks pretty nice,
Very
honestly,
good. Look
right?
at that.
What I did here
Wow.
is I dragged this layer over it because that looks a
Mm-hmm.
little nicer. Now,
Mm-hmm.
let's say I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, okay,
Hmm.
the tones of the way Grace looks here is maybe not exactly what I want. One
Mm-hmm.
thing that I don't know a lot of people know about is if you go under effects, you can make
Mm-hmm.
it grayscale. Ta-da! I got
Nice.
I got dad puns for days. We can make we can make it green or blue tone
Wow.
scale.
Yes.
So
Yes.
we can definitely add this that will also help. And this is something that I use myself, especially when I'm doing decks and I need the images to match up in a professional deck.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the original image, I'm going to go back to this, doesn't
Mm-hmm.
look quite right. But when you add that tone in, what's
Mm-hmm.
neat about this is it just helps it blend in, and you can also click on different recommended colors.
Yeah.
And in addition, here's a brand kit that I made for another Adobe thing. And I
Uh-huh.
can go ahead and click on my brand approved colors. That's probably a terrible choice. Maybe not a good idea of a choice. And I can click on this and see if there's one that works that
Mm-hmm.
are brand approved colors. So
Mm-hmm.
just a very cool thing that most people don't know as much about. And I can go in here and say, okay, actually, I want my highlights to be yellow, right?
Right.
So it's just a very nifty way of seeing how you can use your brand kits. Um,
Yes.
and
You're
so this
using a
one is
combination of those two colors to see which one you like, which pair you like. That's
which
awesome.
pair you like. Yeah, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that's
Mm-hmm.
super helpful. So if you
Mm-hmm.
are out there and you are the person like myself who is always tasked with making these graphics and or making sure that my team members look really graceful. Ha ha ha
Mm.
ha. I'm just gonna do all the grace puns. Um, then it's very, very helpful to
Uh-huh.
be able to uh add a filter onto it essentially. Now, what's so neat is I clicked add text, and what Adobe Express instantly did is
Mm-hmm.
it said, okay, Goldie, I know that this is another text you just used. So I'm going to go ahead and give you a
Mm.
text box in that text for Grace.
Mm-hmm.
So announcing our new team member, Grace. And
Boom.
what we're going to do is we are going to bloop. We're going to make these two separate lines. And I'm just going to fuss a little bit with the spacing because we're here and
Yes.
we can fuss.
Mm-hmm.
And black on this color doesn't look great. So we're going to change the color of our text. And what's also neat is say you don't like this. Say you go in and you're thinking, okay, well, that's not helpful. I want a different text that feels maybe stronger. So here's a stronger
Yeah.
version, right?
Yes.
Or maybe we want something more like ye old team member Grace. There's a lot of different things that it'll say. And I actually like this one. It's a little bit different. So we're going to use this
Mm-hmm.
one. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to change the fill on this to be,
Mm-hmm.
and once again, you can go in and be like, okay, this is a brand color.
Right,
So I'm
right.
going to use a brand color on this and click through and see. I'm not going to teach you guys brand colors right now because we don't have 2 hours for this live stream. But I can say that perhaps either the orange or the yellow look good, maybe the yellow because it's a little bit of a contrasting color. And I'm going to go ahead and I can also add in text effects. So I'm going to go ahead and
Uh-huh.
add in some
Uh-huh.
text effects onto this. We're going to go and we're going to select it all. And we can also add in just make it look more balloony, which is very interesting. These are just some sample effects. You can go ahead and click and do all of your own versions of text effects as well. So this is just
Right.
something interesting to play around with. I love whenever you're doing this and the internet is not happy with you, it goes letter by letter.
Right.
And it's just like, are you sure? Are you sure you want to do this? So we are going to actually go out of text effects, and I'm going to go ahead and pick something else again. I'm going to do Abriel, and I'm going to make it a lot smaller. We're
Mm-hmm.
going to do this efficiently. So yeah, so
There
when
you
I'm
go.
thinking about ways that I can help my, oh, and it
Uh-huh.
just
There you
adds
go.
that effect on top of it. And I'm going to go
Uh-huh.
ahead and do, 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 do. And we're going to go ahead and make that tint maybe a little bit more yellow. And I'm going to go actually make yellow.
Wow.
Yeah. So you can take the same idea and then
Mm-hmm.
change the color of it.
Mm-hmm.
So
This is
now it's going
super
to be
cool.
gold.
Mm.
And it's
Exciting.
going to take that yellow idea and there we go. So now it's your new team member. And now we have 3D fonts attached to this. I'm going to make this so silly, which I know my friend will be okay with. I'm gonna animate this one. So I'm gonna
Boom.
have this one. Yeah.
Yes.
Drop in. I think I like the bungee because it's really hilarious. Wait, actually, let's do the
Uh,
pop. But let's also just have it.
mm.
Whoa, we're gonna
Boom,
have it
boom, boom, boom,
pop
boom,
and
boom.
pulse, and then we're going to have it tumble out.
Oh, I was
Okay,
thinking about that when it was we could see the rounded bottom, the
right?
edge. It's like she could
It will
rock
be
back and
fun,
forth.
right? Because it'll be
Yeah.
like a ball shape. So what we're doing today, this is maybe a little bit more silly than what you want to do for something like this, but it's also, I think, super fun. It's
Mm-hmm.
a nice way to, and I'm going to go ahead and animate this really fast. Um, this is just a really fun way to say announce a new team member
Mm-hmm.
or make a really simple graphic for social media. So I'm going to play this again. So now we've made a literal animated video. Just actually bounces out. Um,
Yeah.
we're making the world's quickest animated video on announcing
Mm-hmm.
our new team member. I think this is a fun use case. And then once again, you could take this and you can also take this square headshot that I made and you can drop that into other kinds of templates as well. So
Mm-hmm.
I I have done a lot with my friend Grace here. Now I'm going to go back and actually do the same thing, the same generative expand with a selfie that I took that was more casual. So you kind of saw that this one was maybe a little bit more of a formal image. So I'm going to go back to Photoshop
Mm-hmm.
out of my friend's beautiful, beautiful picture. And this is a goofy picture of me.
Oh,
I'm wearing this bucket hat. Who doesn't love bucket hats? I don't know. I love bucket
yes.
hats. And this is
Yes.
actually an Adobe, a genuine branded Adobe Express bag that I have. But I want to expand this because my arm is cropped and maybe I want to use this for something else. So I'm going to start with the same thing. I'm press C
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just going to go ahead and expand it out on the sides, a little bit on the sides. And I want to get
Okay.
a little bit of air above my head. So I'm going to
Uh-huh.
go a little bit above and we're going to go. oh, let's make this a little bit wider, a little bit more like a YouTube image that we could possibly use, a little long and wide. And I'm going to go into generative expand, and I'm
And
going to go ahead and see what
let's
it
see what
gives me.
happens. Nice.
The way I don't know
Nice.
what's going to give me, and I hope it's good. So let's
It's
uh
gonna be good. It's gonna
let's
be
see it.
good.
And for those of you who might be more used to doing content aware fill, which is definitely
Uh-huh.
something that's been around a little bit longer, that's great for if you're filling in small things, right? So if
Mm-hmm.
I was filling in
Mm.
like the tip of the hat, that's what
Yeah.
content aware fill would be really good
Okay.
for, right?
Okay. Nice.
So generative expand is for bigger things. So as you can see, it's expanded this building. I love that it added a bunch of junk onto the windows because the windows that I was in front of were already dirty. So
Ooh.
very, very realistic that it added more junk onto those windows. And I want to click through the variations and let's just see what we get.
Uh-huh.
Um, so
Oh, wow.
this is almost like we're in an industrial park at this point. But what
Uh-huh.
I do think is really interesting is my arm looks pretty good,
Yeah,
right?
they did all
That
right. Yes.
elbow, like
Mm-hmm.
here, let's compare, can you, I don't know if you can see it. Here's what my
Yes.
elbow looks like in real life.
Okay.
Here's what it looks like in generative expand. Woo! The tip of my elbow.
Mm-hmm.
And then here's another one. You know what? And as I'm looking through
Yes.
this one,
Yeah.
and this one, I kind of like this end one. I think that
Mm-hmm.
this one is a pretty decent version. And I
Yes.
like that there's a building once again, there's some trees in the background, there's some junk on the window. It
Mm-hmm.
really kept true to having junk on the window. So I'm going to save this again. You get to see me save a copy. I'm going to do this
Mm-hmm.
the shorter way. We're going to save a copy. We're going to do PNG, and then and then I'm going to do boop, 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 boop. I'm going to do
While you say that, give a
save.
shout out to the folks in the chat. We got folks in YouTube.
Yeah.
What's up, Haley, Brem? Oh, my Grace. I appreciate y'all hanging out. Will Forward, thank you for coming through.
Well, I have to say,
And
oh my Grace, that is the Grace that I just did the picture of. So
oh
shout out to
yes.
Grace. Thank you for letting us use your picture today to do a fun tutorial. Um, you are the graciest. I don't know. You're the
Oh,
graciest.
oh, that's
You're
good.
very,
That's all right. You saw yourself in Adobe Live today. That's awesome.
that's
That's awesome.
awesome. That's awesome. Okay, so now I have, and I'm just going to open this up to make sure that this is the save picture once again. I'm going to show you what it looked like originally. It
Mm-hmm.
originally looked like
Hmm.
this, and
Mm-hmm.
then now we have, right? And it's pretty
Yeah.
amazing that it was able to understand there's an elbow there. Once again, maybe not perfect, right? But that's also something that if I was, say, using this for a client, I would maybe go through and Photoshop in the elbow or
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
composite layers together, which I'm sure, Dan, you've done before.
Yes. Yes.
Just fill it in. But for now, this is just for a fun picture that I'm going to use for something else. So I'm going to go ahead and take this beautifully generative expanded picture, and I'm going to go ahead and open up Adobe Express
Express.
again, and I'm going
Uh-huh.
to go into templates. And we're just going to go ahead and start a new file.
There
And
you
this
go.
time I'm going to be good. You know, one thing I'm so guilty of for all of these is I never name my file. So I'm going to name this in all caps because I want to be very obnoxious. Adobe
There
Live
you
with
go.
Dan.
All right. Yay. That's my name.
That's your name. And there we go. And now it's saved.
Uh-huh.
It's renamed it. We know it's renamed.
Yes.
And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take this picture and I'm just going to drag it right now. And that's the cool thing about Adobe Express. Everything is so drag and drop.
Mm-hmm.
And what I
Mm-hmm.
want to do is, while Generative Expand did a great job of expanding the background, I
Mm-hmm.
love remove background. So I'm going to go ahead
Oh.
and, go ahead and remove that background. I'm going to delete this person. Once again, I'm sure is an amazing person, but we don't need that person in here anymore. We got me in here,
There you
Goldie
go. That's right.
Chan.
That's right.
And this is so neat in only a few steps, we are able to
Boom.
go ahead. And this is
Uh-huh.
something that I can now use on my socials. I can use this. I could literally use this as my new social
Mm.
media headshot, as the
Mm-hmm.
little
Mm-hmm.
thumbnail.
Yeah.
And all I had to do was generative expand it a little bit beyond the original picture,
That's yes.
right?
Yes.
And so
Yeah.
this is just such a cool thing. And what I'm going to do
Huh.
really quickly is we're just going to click on a couple of these stars. Nope, it's not going to let me. Okay, so I'm just going to,
Click on the stars.
I'm
Uh-huh.
going to click on the stars. I'm going to click on these two stars. Okay, so I'm going to group and I'm going to animate. I'm
Ooh.
just going to
Ah.
animate some of these
Yes.
stars. Whoops, that's not what I want to do at all. Let's let's maybe flicker them, or should we shrink them? We can
Mm,
spit.
oh.
Ooh, wow, that's
Oh.
so cool.
Yes.
And what I didn't show you guys before is when you animate, you can also make the duration longer or
Mm-hmm.
shorter. You
Mm-hmm.
can have it go in a different direction. Woo! Or you can go,
Nice.
yeah. And you can have the
Huh.
intensity, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Have it go a little faster. So right now, it looks like it's circling my head. Isn't that so cool? And I didn't have to
Yes.
go in and manually keyframe animate this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think honestly, that's so nifty. And I want this to do a little animation too. So I'm gonna just have
Uh-huh.
that as breathing. So
There
really
you go.
quickly, this is something that also, if I'm on a social network and I need a profile picture, but it lets me upload a video, I could
Uh-huh.
literally upload this as my video. And there's a little bit of motion behind it, which is kind of
Yeah.
neat, but I did it from a
Yeah.
still image, which is,
Mm-hmm.
once again,
Right.
so cool.
Yes. Starting from a single image. There's some comments in the chat,
Yeah.
including one from Jack that says that Adobe Express does a great job of removing backgrounds, and we've seen that twice already right now. A couple other folks, including Apurva, says they've used the same template. So
Oh,
yes,
really?
this is this
Well,
yeah.
definitely. I mean, I can't see chat right now, but drop a link to your final product because I want to see you using that template. I want to see what cool stuff you designed too. Now, once
Yes.
again, one of the things that I also think about a lot because I work with a lot of brands, I'm literally working with this very cool company, Neighbor, the
Mm-hmm.
Fortnite company, on their brand and think about their brand. One of the things that Adobe Express does really well is, once again, you can upload a brand kit that has your
Mm-hmm.
brand colors, and you can
Mm-hmm.
change the colors to make sense, and it's one click. See how
Yes. Oh,
I cannot say,
wow.
like, how literally that was
Yes. Yes.
one
Oh.
click, and now suddenly I've made an entire graphic that's going
Mm-hmm.
to be brand safe, is
Mm-hmm.
a term that sometimes I use. And I can go into background color, and
There
then
we
I can
go.
also go ahead and change this. So now this is the colors of, for example, I just like that orangey color, the orange red color. Did you
Mm-hmm.
know
Mm-hmm.
Pantone's color of the year is fuzzy peach?
What? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so it's a peach pink, which is actually the color of the original template. So I messed that up. But when you're also thinking about colors for your brands and things like
Mm-hmm.
that, I often also go through a little bit of a brand exercise with clients that I work with when I think about brand, which is,
Mm-hmm.
what are the feelings and the emotions that you want to evoke with a brand? Because
Yeah.
if you can see, these colors are a lot more strong than the colors that I had before. They're a lot more
Mm-hmm.
warm, but the
Mm-hmm.
soft, if I want to go back to this original color, I'm going to click on background color. We can click on a more neutral
Boom.
color.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So once again, Adobe, what they do great is they're going to recommend some colors based off the colors you're currently using.
Yes.
And you can
And
also, of course, just select from these if you
yeah.
already know the
Oh,
vibe
look
and the
at that.
color that you're looking for,
Uh-huh.
right? I mean,
Uh-huh.
I have to say this because we're literally with Dan, and he loves the blue.
Yes,
The vibe,
that's
of
right.
course, the blue, right? I love the green and the teal,
Uh-huh.
but
Uh-huh.
he's a big fan of blue. I mean, I also
Uh-huh.
love this blue color because it looks good with the teal.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
This is
we're gonna
good.
make this. So once again, this was so fast. And what's so cool is I changed the colors, but it kept the animation. So
Right.
that's the
Right.
neat thing is you can change the colors at any point in time and
Mm-hmm.
it will keep those colors behind you. Now let's also just, we're going to play around a little bit because we have time to play around. And I'm supposed to also be talking about my story. So
Yes.
one of I totally forgot because I got really excited about changing colors and animating things. But when I think also about how I present myself online and my personal brand, which I think is really fun to think about,
Mm-hmm.
I also think like, what are my personal brand colors? So as I just said, for Delta Tingle Mike, who we're
Mm.
on the chat with right now, his
That's right.
brand colors are very blue,
Uh-huh.
but my colors are more of a teal color or
Mm-hmm.
more of this green color, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's also helpful when you're thinking about your own brand is it's helpful
Mm.
to think, okay, what are colors that I want to be known for? What are the emotions that I want to evoke? And that's really for
Right.
thinking through your own personal brand. So hopefully that's a helpful pro tip to think through is whenever you're posting all these graphics and things online and you're designing, even in Adobe Express, you can make it so
Mm-hmm.
custom for you. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's helpful because if you have the same set of colors that you're using, aka brand kit, aka brand palette, right?
Right, right, right.
Then it's really helpful for people who see that color, they make that immediate connection to you. They're like, oh, that cobalt blue,
Mm-hmm.
that's going to be Delta Tango Mike, right? And for
Right.
me right now, I love teal. So I want, whenever I post teal things, I want people to start thinking like, oh, I'm seeing some more teal. They think of
Uh-huh.
Goldie.
Right.
So
There you go. That's
once
right. That's
again,
good. That's good. And that's a great way to think about it, especially when you're dealing with social and people go
mhm,
look at your page on Instagram or something. You kind of want that brand to stand out by
yeah.
looking at that page. Uh-huh. Yes.
So it's just very helpful to oh, I'm still in all caps. It's very helpful to be able to stand out a little bit. Now, one of the other
Mm-hmm.
things I want to just try is I'm just going to try
Uh-oh.
dragging and dropping a video. We're just going to see what happens if we do some bubbles. I'm going
Okay,
to move
okay.
this layer down,
Oh,
all
wow.
the way down.
Wow.
And I just want to see if that gives us more. Yeah, there we go. Now we're really vibing. Now we're
Yeah.
in the mode. This feels like a really soft and soothing
Mm-hmm.
video and image
Yeah.
now, right?
Uh-huh.
Personally, I always love to add a little, if I can add a little water, add a little video onto this. And you can see right now, once again, it's so easy to add that video in. I just had to be aware of what layer I was dealing with. So I moved it
Mm-hmm.
all the way behind everything
Mm-hmm.
else.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of the things that I might want to do here is let's go ahead and I think I did breathe, but I'm gonna maybe let's see what happens if we
Ooh.
we also tumble this out.
Wow.
And
Wow.
that's gonna look really silly, but that's what we're
Let's
here
see.
for. It's we're here to
Yeah.
make something cool and silly. And I made the animation for this a little bit longer, so that's why this video is going to go a little bit longer, but we can also make the
Mm-hmm.
animations shorter. That's the cool thing
Mm-hmm.
about animating in Adobe Express. But as we see, it's going to then tumble
Boom.
out at
And
the
it's out.
end.
Mm-hmm.
And this is
Very
also
cool.
neat because I know some of you out there, for example, I'm a huge video person, so I'm always shooting footage and stuff like that. But not everyone likes to do video. Not
Mm-hmm.
everyone likes
Mm-hmm.
to be constantly shooting video content. This is a great way to create videos from still images.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's good. That's right. Right. So when you grab your phone and taking a picture of yourself,
Yeah.
you don't have to deal with the video part and thinking about what to say, what to
And this
do.
is not,
It's
once again, a
right.
perfect image, right? We
Mm-hmm.
started from a cropped image
Mm-hmm.
and we expanded it using generative expand. And then we took it and we brought it here into Adobe Express to make a cool template and maybe make a profile picture. Or
Uh-huh.
I can also use this in other pieces that I do. once again, I love removing backgrounds. So removing backgrounds is a super fun thing. I'm also
Hmm.
still supposed to talk about myself. So let me
Yes, yes,
let
it's
me
okay.
let me jump in again and say something insightful about myself. I have water right here. Drink water every day, guys. It's good
There
for
you
you.
go. There you go. Good tip. Perfect tip.
Perfect life tip. Uh,
Uh-huh.
drink water. That's also I want to put water in my background of this image.
Hmm.
But we're actually going to go out and so one of the things I didn't talk through is Adobe also has really great stock photos, stock videos. And for those of you who are looking into also doing more text to image, specifically some of the AI features that Adobe does, one of the very neat things is Adobe actually pulls from their own stock photos. So if you
Hmm.
ask
Hmm.
Adobe to generate water, it's pulling from these videos and these images of water that are Adobe stock
Yeah.
for those of you that don't know that. So that I think is kind of a neat thing about Adobe in general and Adobe creative stuff. But let's go back and we're going to go out here. And also, if anyone has any questions specifically around personal branding or writing or creative content making or thinking about your personal brand or your business brand, or if you're working in-house and you have some questions about that, let me know in the
There
chat,
you go.
which I
This is
absolutely
your
can't
chance,
see,
chat.
but Dan can see.
Yes. I will throw the question your way. I do have one question. We can
Yes.
continue with
Yeah, let's
parts
do it.
of the conversation is can you discuss the importance of collaboration and community building in the digital realm and how do you foster the meaningful connections with your audience and peers?
Yeah, I think that's
Mm.
such a great question. That's like 12 questions. So
Yes.
let's start with I'm just going to jump in and we're just going to talk and do things at
Sure.
the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm thinking through collaboration, well, one of the cool things is literally in Adobe Express, I can share this.
There you go. Right on
And
time too. That's a good
right,
question. Right on
right.
time. Yep.
Oh, somebody was planted. No, just kidding. So I can go ahead and I can add names or emails. So I can go ahead and type in somebody's name in here,
Mm-hmm.
and I can
Mm-hmm.
share and I can invite them. And there's a bunch of different ways I can share this as a collaborative element. So that's purely in Adobe Express. I really
Uh-huh.
like to think through and share things with people because I think
Mm-hmm.
it's helpful to be able to share a document and to see actively what we're each other working on. Now, just in general, when I work on a team, and I think the folks that work with me on teams know this, I like to ask for input. So I will usually start by making a massive document. For
Mm-hmm.
example, I'll make a deck for a pitch, and then when I'm done making that deck, I'll say, okay, guys, here's what I put in, and here's like some 5 bullet points of what I put in. Is there anything else you want to add? Look through it. Tell me if I've misspelled words, because I probably
Uh-huh.
did. Tell me if there's
Yeah.
anything that I need to fix. And I think that is generally speaking how I usually go through and fix things. I'm going to go back and I'm going to pick up my friend Grace. Now, I've already actually made a couple other versions that I'm going to show you
Mm-hmm.
right now. What's neat
Nice.
about this template is it immediately pulled this in and immediately made this black and white, which is pretty cool.
Yes.
Yeah. And
Boom.
I'm going to go
Mm-hmm.
ahead and drop this in, and I want to go ahead and expand this
Mm-hmm.
one.
Nice.
So this is a beautifully done
It looks like
image.
she's yes,
Yeah, and
yes.
it looks like
Is she
she's
holding
writing.
pencils?
She's holding
She
pencils, which is
yes.
I don't know
Uh-huh.
if you could see that before, but
Yeah.
she's
Uh-uh.
holding pencils, which once again is something that the generative expand did. And
Mm-hmm.
so if I want to make this look a little different, I can have this curved a little bit. So there we go. So it's a little bit softer now. And I'm going to go ahead and crop this in. And look at this. It curves the bottom
Mm-hmm.
no matter how much I curve it in. So say I want it
Oh
to look
wow.
like that, right? Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, that is all right. Oh, I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, so I don't know if people know that, but when you, and this is maybe not the fanciest thing, but when you're in shapes,
Uh-huh.
you can drag and drop the shapes, and you can also do this.
Ah,
So,
yes.
whoop.
Oh my
Okay, we're probably not
gosh.
doing that right now because that's
Yeah,
not as
yeah, yes.
this is not exactly that, but we can also scale
That's
and we can,
awesome.
but I really like this part about crop, which I think most people don't
Mm-hmm.
know about, which is you can,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, you can literally when you're in there, you can drag and you can drag and pull where that crop and that roundedness
Yes.
comes from, which I think is just it's helpful as a designer. Sometimes you just need it to look a certain way.
Yes.
Um,
How
and
many of you out there knew about this already? Who knew about this? Yeah, y'all let us know in the chat because I did not know. This is cool.
yeah,
Oh, look
I'm
at
just
that.
like I'm waiting for everyone to be like, Goldie, we already knew. And I'm like, yes, okay. Well, then I didn't know. I'm sorry. So this is just one cool thing that I like to always demonstrate. So here we go. This
Uh-huh.
is another beautiful, and instead of Mino graphics, we're
Mm-hmm.
not Mino, we're
Grace.
Grace
Grace. In the
Grace
chat,
Ceramics.
Keith says, don't be fooled by Grace. She has a crocodile tooth on her necklace.
She does. She does that. You know
We
what?
we know about you.
Because you said that, and we're literally designing live, so you know we didn't make this up. I'm gonna go into media
Uh-oh.
and I'm
Let's
gonna look
see.
up crocodile.
Uh-oh.
Let's see what we get. So here's some stock images, but I love a little video action. So
Mm,
let's find a good video of a crocodile. Here we go.
there you
I like
go.
this. I like this. We're just gonna drop this in right behind. Right behind. Whoop. Nope. We're gonna drop this in before.
Okay.
But and then I want to show something really neat. I don't know if people
Let's
know
see.
about this, but we can do remove background on videos too. So I
What?
think that's something else that most people don't know. It's gonna take a
What?
little bit longer and we might not have time for this
Uh-huh.
because it has to do it frame by frame. So
All
it
right.
takes a little bit longer with video, but you can also
Hmm.
remove background on video elements, which I think is
What?
super, super neat. And also just, really helpful thing. And what's cool is this is probably slowing it down, but I can also drag and move it around while it's doing that,
Uh-huh.
which is also
Uh-huh.
super neat. And so it's taking a little time, and there we go. And then what's so cool is, and this was the wrong video to do remove background on, but you can see the water is right underneath its little neck is being removed. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a little
Mm-hmm.
bit of movement there. Um, I'm gonna pick a different one because that wasn't quite what I wanted. I wanted some movement. I wanted
But that's
some,
a neat trick. I did not know about that, and I'm
yes,
glad you're
you
sharing it
can
with us.
remove background
Uh-huh.
on different videos and stuff like that. I'm gonna move this in front.
Jack
But
says,
yeah.
"Oh no, R.I.P. Grace." No,
Gra
don't do Grace
Grace
like
is
that.
fine. Grace is fine. Grace
She's
is
doing well.
strong. She's a strong cookie.
Strong cookie. That's right.
So this is now a video of a crocodile
Mm-hmm.
and my friend Grace. This is maybe not what I'm going to put in our professional deck that I'm working on
Sure.
for later, but
Mm-hmm.
maybe I am. I don't
Uh-oh.
know. I don't want to judge what people are putting and using in their deck. So if you
Uh-huh.
need to make a deck about crocodiles later, feel free to literally steal my template idea. Steal this
Okay.
idea.
There you
I
go.
want you to steal this idea. So the other thing we do is we can literally take a crocodile and we're going to
Uh-huh.
do what we already know what I'm going to do. We're going to remove
Remove.
background on this.
That's
So
right.
we're going to whoop, we're going
And
to
it's
go
and it's
through
so
here
easy to
and it's so
just
easy to do it.
uh-huh.
We're going to remove background. And other functions that I don't use as much just because I don't necessarily need to is erase.
Mm-hmm.
And you can also do generative fill directly in Adobe Express, which is super, super cool. So here's what we're
Mm-hmm.
going to do is I couldn't quite find the animated crocodile that I wanted. So I'm going to animate this crocodile.
There
I'm
you go.
going to go ahead and I'm going to go into animation and we're going to have this bungee in, or should we have them, should you have them tumble in? Yeah, let us
Uh-huh.
tumble in.
Uh-huh.
And then we're going to have it just blinking. No, no, we need something a little more aggressive than that. How about
Ah.
a wiggle or a yo-yo?
Uh-huh.
A
Yes.
jitter. There we go. A
There you go.
jitter.
Yeah.
And then we're just gonna have it tumble right back out. So this is This is the beautiful handmade animation that I've made for my friend and teammate Grace with a moving crocodile because somebody mentioned that in chat. But that's what I think is so cool about Adobe Express is I can take these images that I've painstakingly edited pixels on. I cannot describe
Mm-hmm.
how many times I have been in Photoshop
Mm-hmm.
going
Mm-hmm.
pixel by pixel, removing hairs,
Right.
cloning tool. And I can take this beautiful image and then I can drop it into Adobe Express and make the fastest possible template. So that's how I like to use them together, especially when I'm creating and especially when I need to make things fast for teams that I work on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. This is a lot of great tips. I hope everybody was paying attention and saw how Grace, I mean, not Grace, Goldie has mastered Adobe Express for a lot of extra little things that add up, and that shows your character, your personality, and it spills into your brand in social media. So this is great. This is awesome.
Yeah, and I also want to point out that um, for me, I always think through like what would be fun. I like to think through brand keywords. So, what
Mm-hmm.
are one exercise I do with my clients is what are your three brand keywords? So for
Okay.
me, one of them is warm, right? I like everything to be
Oh.
kind of warm and nice. For other people, it might be funny, right? It's
Uh-huh.
helpful to think what are your three brand keywords when you're
Mm.
thinking through what your brand is.
Mm-hmm.
And I use this once again for myself as well. I like to have a pretty cohesive brand, except when I'm
Sure.
tweeting memes. Except when I'm sharing memes, because you can't have a cohesive brand with memes. Um, or I guess you can maybe if you share only memes and you share only a specific kind of meme, then you
Sure.
definitely
Or bring
can.
those memes into Adobe Express, change the color, change the animation to fit your brand.
Yeah, that's a whole nother live stream. I think we need to do another Adobe Live where we reverse
Yes.
that and
Yes.
you take a meme and you edit it and then I get
Mm.
to talk at you.
That's a deal. I'll accept that challenge. Let's
Yes.
go. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
we we have a few minutes left today. And so well, I'm going to ask you one last question,
Please.
and then anyone else who has something to add onto the chat, please do so. We have Wasim Du joining in also on YouTube. Thank you for stopping through. So, how do you measure the success of your social media strategies and content creation efforts? And are there any metrics that you prioritize in evaluating the impact? Something like what we just did today, the
Yeah.
examples of your branding on social. How do you measure these things?
So for me, it depends on what platform I'm thinking about. And I'm just going to open it up so it's not just focusing on Grace and a crocodile. I'll open up, pick up the file. That's me. Um, when I think through my own social media, for me, I'm pretty active on a couple of platforms. I'm pretty active on
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn. I'm pretty
Mm-hmm.
active on X, the platform formerly known as Twitter. I'm
Sure.
pretty active on Instagram as well. And for each of those different platforms, I have different metrics for success. So on Twitter, when people have a conversation with me, that's when I think something is successful, when you're literally commenting and you're commenting back and forth, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's to me a definite element of success. I also feel like when I'm on LinkedIn, it's if, say, I get a private message, which is very interesting to me. So on LinkedIn, when I get more private messages about content I post, or people ask me to extend a series of long form writing, which sounds really intense, on
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn, that's to me also another element of success. And then on Instagram, I think it really just depends. For me, if five of my friends my picture I put on Instagram and it's a silly picture, that to me is a success. I don't always judge things by purely for numbers. Now, I will say,
Mm-hmm.
when I work with brands, this is a totally different story. Then those metrics are a lot more like how many likes, comments, shares,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
retweets,
Yeah.
reshares, saves. The I would call them pure metrics. Those matter a
Mm-hmm.
lot more. And
Mm-hmm.
I will say, though, some brands are now starting to lean a lot more towards conversational metrics. And by that, I mean, are people commenting? Are you in a conversation? Are they
Mm-hmm.
sharing your hashtag in a meaningful way? Those
Mm-hmm.
are all ways of seeing if really for the brand, if you're in conversation with your audience, with your community.
Mm. That's good. That's good. Those are things that that's really it. Is there a meaningful conversation happening?
Yeah.
And that should be like the first step, right? Are you connecting with somebody? So that's really good. I like that. Everything you answered was amazing. Thank you so much, Goldie, for sharing some insights and taking the time to share with us. Everything. I hope everyone was taking notes. I know I was taking notes, and I'm gonna watch this again so that I can remember everything that Goldie mentioned because it was a lot, and I love it. I have a couple announcements to give before we out for today. Nominate someone you know to be a guest on Adobe Live by clicking on the link up here on over the chat and guest recommendations. And up next, let's practice our animation skills in Photoshop with a new series, Animation 401, hosted by Ray Belvedere, aka Pixie Pew. Thanks so much for all this insight, Goldie. I appreciate your time. You're awesome. You're super talented. And I hope that we can come back again and you can show us more stuff.
Let's do it. Bye,
Uh,
everyone.